It worked before.
Hopefully it works.
Worked before.
Right, folks.
I enjoyed it when we had a countdown to the live.
But only we saw that countdown, remember? We totally messed up the tech side of it. Folks, we are live, hopefully. Now, what we would love from you guys is a bit of interaction. We'd love a few questions. Let us know if you've got anything fishing related you'd like an answer from this side. Feeder Master Champion, or myself. Let us know as well where you've been this weekend. Tell us your local venue, how it's fishing, what you've achieved this weekend, what you maybe could have done a little bit differently.
Rob, did you want me to go European Cup champion when you did the, myself?
Yeah, we could have
thought I'd toss that in.
Like a Chuckle Brothers sort of thing.
Yeah. I nearly did, but you didn't give me a pause. A pause for effect would have been fantastic.
No, because I feel like I'm like the Paul Scholes of fishing.
All right. Paul Scholes.
I don't really, because we had this discussion, didn't we, the other week, what you'd be. And I reckon Paul Scholes doesn't really sing about it.
Right.
Just does the job and goes.
Right. Is that you, is it?
Yeah. Well, that's how I'd like to think of it, but,
Right.
First of all, on that theme, we'll talk about Lee Kerry at the weekend. Where did you go? How did you do?
Well, I've had a really good weekend. We fished the I don't even know what region it is, but I'm going to say like northern eastern type Yorkshire style Winter League, which is obviously the National Winter League competition run by the Angling Trust. And our league has just got stronger every year, Rob, because it's teams of 8, which I think helps a lot of teams, just not getting them extra couple of guys. We had another league that wasn't a million miles away, merged with ours. So now we've got some brilliant teams in the league. I mean, I look at teams. I mean, I'm not sure if I agree with this, but it's the top 4 teams qualify anyway, out of 10. And team anglers in the teams that came 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th are like brilliant. And I'm like, wow, this is not an easy league. So yesterday, the final round was on the Staney. We'd had one round cancelled, sadly, this year due to flooding at Hallcroft. So it was a really good match. But let me tell you now, right, I can't ever remember going canal fishing in my entire life and seeing a venue like that Staney is at the moment, right? I'll put it into context for you, Rob. Yesterday, potted my bait in at the start, some ground bait, and put a pinky on and caught a fish on the drop as I laid my rig in. Looked around, there was like 2 or 3 other people swinging a fish in. I was like, okay, lots of fish. Put a red maggot on. Never took a red maggot off for an hour and a half. Literally loose feeding pinkies, fishing a red maggot on the hook in wind in like 6 degrees on a canal, and had a fish every single cast on a size 16 hook. It's ridiculous. I used to go there and fish like 24s with a single joker to try to catch a fish. And there is that many fish that you can fish like, well, I was next to Adam Dowd from Preston Northwest, and he's set up 2 rigs. He's been going. I haven't been going. He set up 2 rigs, and he fished 1 rig all day at 14.5 meters, left and right with casters. Never put anything else on the hook. Never fed anything else but casters, and caught 14 pound. And he had a fish every single chuck in, and obviously didn't catch any bonus fish or anything like that, which you expect to catch on cast. It's not like he had like 3 fish for 14 pound. My day was brilliant. I fished pinkies, had a little go on casters when I got bored, had a go on hemp at the end just for the crack, because I could get a bite on everything. And I weighed 17.5 pound, 3 little skimmers for about £1.4, and then everything else was roach or little pommies. I mean, you'd think that 17.5 pounds, surely I've won the match. I'm not even close. My section was one on the marina mouth with 44 pound of bream, only 12 bream for 44 pound. And I watched just in my section alone, 20 bream be weighed in. Like one of them was just over £6. Like ridiculous fish, absolutely ridiculous.
I want to talk about this because yesterday we had a canal match on our local canal. Sadly, I couldn't fish it, but it was a 60 peg canal match. Our local canal is your normal local canal, sort of 13 meters wide, roach, perch, skimmers, odd bream. It is like tough fishing. £5 can win a match. I think the last match that they had there, £6-7 won it. But this match yesterday, remember we had a massive drop in air pressure. It was like the lowest air pressure you could imagine yesterday. Yesterday, it was won with 40 odd pound on this little tiny canal. Same as you, opposite a marina mouth. So obviously those bream that are in that marina mouth have gone, today's the day, let's go and have a feed. And they've gone out 40 odd pound. That's the canal record for our local canal by like a million miles. So I just wonder if it was yesterday was like the day for like catching a big weight of fish.
Yeah, I mean, £44 the biggest weight I've seen for years. But I tell you what blew my mind, Rob, the stain is usually tap water clear. And well, we did an underwater there a couple of years ago, didn't we? Like it was, you could see everything, and it's always clear. It's like never not clear. That's how it just is. And then because of the unbelievable amounts of rain we've had over the last few weeks, they've been running water through the staining. Now, even when they run it, it doesn't tend to colour up, but weeks and weeks and weeks of running it, the coloured water has now got to it. So yesterday when we got there, it was like you could see 18 inches down, which is very rare for the stain. You usually can see 3 foot. And I just think those bream they're there. I just think they're always there. They just, because they were caught all the way along the length. So not just on the marina mouth, like I said. Don't get me wrong, that's where they were. And I think you're right. I think the chances are those bream have come out of the marina and spread along the canal, but they've decided it's coloured, it's low pressure, we're going to have a feed. But what a match. I mean, I had 17-7, and they paid top 6 and I wasn't in it. So I think £18 was last in the frame. The section to my left, every single angler had double figures. Every single angler. So, you know, we fished like 100. I think there's not quite, it covers about 100 pegs, about 80 odd anglers yesterday. And, you know, there must have been 60 double figure weights, if not more. Unbelievable fishing. I mean, however many fish is that as well. They're not big fish, they're just lots of fish. So never been a better time to, you know, and we went to March last year. Rob did that filming.
Yeah,
solid with fish.
Solid with fish, yeah.
I can't ever remember natural venues being as good as they are the last 2, 3, 4 years. It's just quite scary, to be honest, how many fish there are. And you know, my dad goes on the Broads, and it's just a fish a bung everywhere he sits down, every time. It's unbelievable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, incredible fishing. I mean, obviously, with a bit of extra water, a bit of extra colour, all these natural venues have fished fantastic, haven't they?
Brilliant, mate.
We've got on Wednesday, Lee. I want to talk about this. We've got on Wednesday. Forget tomorrow for a minute because we've got a big match tomorrow, haven't we? But on Wednesday,
we've got a
Silverfish match at Medlands. It's an Angling Trust Silverfish qualifier. Medlands, everyone knows it's fantastic. It is like ran with fish, ran with big carp, but obviously we've got to target silverfish. The people that I've been speaking to, and when you look at like Facebook posts, all they seem to be doing when they're fishing these silverfish matches is just hooking carp after carp after carp. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if it's quite right yet for silverfish matches to be so early in the year, or should just carp count? I don't know. Is there a way of limit? Because we've just fished a match at Boston, the Euro Cup, and it was great fishing across the whole lake because there was rules in place. We still allow carp, but there was rules in place to make it maybe a bit more silverfish bias. I'm wondering if we had instead of silverfish matches, what about natural baits matches?
That is absolutely my view, Rob. Because a great example, a friend of mine was telling me how he went to a silverfish match on Saturday, hooked. He said everybody hooked between 8 and 15 carp. Everybody. He said then he went there on Sunday on an any method match and hooked 1 carp. And I believe that pellets and that sort of fishing has a big part to play in that. I really do. Because look how well Barston fished for us for an entire week with no pellets and that allowed. And I think when I've always loved commercial silvers, and I know you have too, but it's always been December, January, February when I feel like, yeah, now I want to fish for bites. It's freezing cold. I want to put something in the net, but I don't want to just sit it out for 2 or 3 carp or hope that I draw on the carp stack. But what's happening at the moment is the carp, they're not stacked up. And that's what happens every year. September, October, November are some of the best carp fishing months you can ask for, aren't they? I mean, because yes, you're not going to catch. Well, I say you're not going to catch £200 din at Barston. You're not looking at those ridiculous summer weights, but what you will get is a good distribution of fish. The fish seem to be everywhere, but I feel like a lot of the time they want those natural style baits. They don't just want to sit there and eat a load of hard, crunchy 8mm pellets. So you're right. I feel like the surge in popularity of silverfish matches has made the organisers of these events almost go early with them because they know that people want to do it. And I always
feel as well. It seems like every year. I've just been to the tackle shop this morning and I was chatting to the guys in the shop this morning. It feels like, whether it's just that we forget, but it feels like every year the colder weather comes later and later and sort of lasts for longer and longer. So whereas March was sort of the time where you thought all things are warming up, it's now April. And whereas you sort of automatically think, well, November, that's when it starts to get cold. That's not winter. It's beautiful today. We could go out, catch a load of carp today. We'd probably sit on most pegs on most commercials, catch a load of carp. We're not trying to go to the hot pegs yet. I just wonder if we could maybe silverfish only matches, maybe run them later in the year. But I do like the idea because you know what it's like. You go on these silverfish matches and you catch loads of carp and you hook loads of carp. And we're almost sort of like trying to shake them off or trying to avoid them.
Yes.
It's saying to me why can't we all go and catch and have £100 of carp each? Well, it's not like we hate carp. It's just that we want to fish natural baits, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. And when I went to Makins the other week, which is such a brilliant fishery, I had one of the least enjoyable days fishing I've had for a long time because I hooked 25 carp. And what I hated about it was I should have been going, yes, another carp and playing it. But because it was a silverfish match, I was like, oh, a carp. And I thought, this isn't right. This isn't what I want from I was sat in a T-shirt as well, Rob. I thought, this isn't what I want from my fishing. But if, like you say, if there'd have been natural baits, any fish matches, maybe that's something that we're all missing. Sort of September, October, November. Maybe not September, October, November for sure. Maybe that's something that we're all missing. Maybe that's something that, because you're right. I always used to think bonfire night was like you'd almost be guaranteed to have had at least 1 or 2 frosts by bonfire night. Like I can remember as a kid and even 10 years ago, here it is, the first frost, because it's obviously a bonfire night, something that you relate to, which of course was yesterday. And I'm looking at my phone and the lowest temperature it's showing for the next 2 weeks is 6 degrees at night. So you're not even close to frosts yet. And like you say, a couple of years ago, I think in April, we had like 20 frosts. It was frosty every morning in April for like nearly the whole month. And it just goes to show that, you know, obviously we're all keen to get back out, but you think about April time, it's a bit crap for carp fishing, isn't it, really? It's not really a good time.
You're still sort of like trying to find the fish rather than getting them to come to you, aren't you? You're still feeding in that space to come to you.
Yeah.
So I always think it's sort of like May time that the fish really start actively hunting food, and like you can pull some fish to you.
Which makes me think, like, when I look at my calendar, there's a big hole in March in terms of like, Silverfish finals are done now, end of February, but you hook much more carp in like November time than you do in March time. So maybe if it was like December, January, February December, January, February, March, then you'd have 4 great months of silverfish. I mean, some of the silverfish fishing, because obviously as it comes into March, pellets start to work well, and you can catch massive catches of silvers again, can't you? You know,
right, so I'm going to pick your brains, because this is the first time I've fished Medlands once in a silverfish match, and it was years ago. Darren Cox won the match. He fished groundbait and maggot in one of the corners. He fished pellets. I fished groundbait and maggot. I was second. He won it. And I haven't got a clue how I'm going to attack it on Wednesday and how I'm going to avoid the carp. And you'll fish there a little bit in silverfish matches. How am I going to do it? Because I thought,
go on.
I thought pellets and almost like work your way through. And if you hook a few carp, let's just almost fish for carp and maybe catch the skimmers as a byproduct. But is that the way to do it?
Well, I'm on the same match, so I recommend 20 mil boilies on a bomb. Listen, I've got, and I said this to you off camera, I've got a little bit of a thing that I think pellets are great, but I feel like at this time of year the fish want natural baits. And when we were going to Medlands towards the end of last year, like February time, pellets were unbelievable, brilliant. February into March, like mega good. Almost as if the fish were ready for them again. But I've just, from the fishing I've been doing recently, Rob, worms, maggots, casters, they just seem better for silverfish than pellets do. I don't know why that is. I've heard some people say fish know winter's coming, so they want proteiny type baits. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that, but you know, it shows the amount of carp and that we're hooking on these baits. Maybe there's something in that. And pellets will work. You'll get bites, but I don't know if it's as good as maybe when it gets a bit colder. You know, maybe when it just gets a little bit colder, it tends to work a bit better. But like I say, I'm not an expert, but I will be focusing on worms, casters, maggots, and ground bait myself, because I feel that's more where fish are at in the cycles at the moment. But you know,
I'm gonna have
maybe some guys watching this have been to Medlands. Comment below and tell us.
Yeah, let us know, give us some tips, because it's that time of year where 2 weeks ago you could have been pellet waggler fishing with 8 mils and catching carp, wouldn't you? But I don't know where we're at that period, aren't we? Where it could be really good. It could be winter style fishing.
I think that's my opinion, but we'll see tomorrow. There'll certainly be anglers. Wednesday there'll certainly be anglers pellet fishing. Maybe that could be the one.
Right. We want some questions, folks, and in the meantime, I'm going to just a few hellos to people who have been good enough to say hello. So Kyle, afternoon. Nige, afternoon. The lunchtime fisherman is Dave Warren. What a top bloke Dave Warren is. Afternoon, Dave. Paul Williams, good afternoon. Cameron McKenzie, cracking bloke, afternoon. Mr. Tonks, hi guys, great to see you at Boston, number 1 and 2 in Europe. Let's do a slider video. He's been mad for a slider video, Mick has.
I tell you what, Mick, you want that slider video, don't you? That'll come one day, pal.
Because he goes past your park all the time and he reckons slider is like the way to fish, and he wants.
Maybe that's where we'll have to go to do it, Rob. So
he wants a slider video. So Nige has said, with groundbait now being a nightmare, I think he means whether to use it, what to do with it. are there any simple rules for ground baits on commercials? Silvers and carp, my local is never clear. So it's a coloured lake. He's fishing for silvers and carp. So straight away, fish meal. It's got to be fish meal for me. If there's any carp in there and you're fishing for silvers, you've got to be using it's commercial. You've got to be using fish meal. His lake is never clear. So let's talk about colour and let's talk about smell to it, because for me, clearer water, when it gets cold, you want a dark ground bait. Not necessarily the case though when the water's really coloured, is it?
I think it almost actually doesn't matter when the water's coloured. Like, so if it's that coloured, what does it matter if it's dark, pale, green, red? I'm not sure if it actually matters, because I don't ever feel, Rob, that the fish are feeding by sight. Take our day at Barston on the final day of the European Cup when it was super coloured. There was no way fish were using sight to feed there. So my advice is actually, I would go with a ground bait that you have more confidence in with the smell than I would the colour. So if you like green thatchers, for example, then use green thatchers. It's not good. The colour of green isn't going to put them off in a coloured water. But you're right, Rob. It's got to be fish meal. And I think if I was playing it safe, I would be looking for something based around crushed expanders.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say, because obviously we talk about fish meal. There's two types of fish meal ground baits that we use, or we try and categorise them into the same sort of category. Crushed pellets and then fish meal. So what people have to understand is, in a crushed pellet ground bait, there is usually some fish meal, because pellets have got fish meal as an ingredient. But then in a fish meal based ground bait, or a ground bait that's got actual fish meal added to it, that's quite often a more powerful ground bait. It's got more fish meal. It's slightly more powerful, maybe gives off different food signals than a crushed pellet ground bait. So fish meal and crushed pellet are not necessarily always the same. They're a different style of ground bait. And I don't know about you, Lee, I always find that a fish meal ground bait, it's a little bit tackier to feel, whereas a crushed ground bait the particles are slightly bigger. It's almost a spongier ground bait, whereas a fish meal ground bait is a little bit tackier in your fingers. So depending on what you want to do with it, you've got to think about whether you want fish meal base or crushed pellet based, or some ground baits are a mix of the two.
Yeah, mix of the two. Yeah, absolutely. I would. I think for a lot of the commercials that we're doing, when we do the videos, Rob, we say the finer the particle, the more attractive it is. So a 6 mil is more attractive than an 8 mil. A 2 mil is more attractive than a 6 mil. So it depends what you're trying to do with your ground bait on your venue. If you're using your ground bait as like a smell, as an attractor, then I agree with Rob. I would go for something fish mealy fine, something that's ground fine, because I'm literally just putting it in there almost like, oh, what? There's something here. There's something here. Oh, it's your hook bait. But if I was putting it into feed, like I wanted to fish it on a method or fish it down the edge, for example, something that I wanted to feed, I would look for something a little bit coarser ground. That would be my advice. I think at this time of year, I look to those ground baits, crushed expander based is a real safe option. Any of the F1 ranges that Sonu do, I would be looking at them for this time of year. And you can't. There's natural, there's green, there's black. I know Rob with Dynamite has a similar type of ground.
Yeah, so you'd be using the F1 range from Sonu, like you say, different colours. A crushed pellet based ground bait. Like I say, I'd be using the same sort of like swim stim sort of range of ground baits. Crushed pellet again. So binds nicely, but it'll open up if you want it to. You can feed little balls. You can bomb it down to the bottom. You can feed it loose, which is great. Damp, loose ground bait in shallow water is great. So a crushed pellet based ground bait is where I'd be going, Nige. Darren Hill, afternoon, boys. Hope you're all well. Hang on, before we answer Darren's question, Sonu baits. Look, Jake from Sonu.
Is he there? Is he?
Because we were talking about.
He heard Groundbait was in the conversation, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. He obviously, Jake Sonu loves the idea that pellets are the only bait to use on a commercial, because it means he'll sell loads and make his millions.
Yeah. He loves F1 as well. He's buzzing with F1.
He is, but you've just obviously ticked Jake's box, haven't you? Because you've just mentioned.
I must have known Jake was on, mustn't I? Flipping heck, yeah.
So Darren is off to Makins this Thursday. Should I be targeting silvers or carp? If so, what tactics, lads? So Darren, you need to let us know what lake you're on. You could be targeting both, but I think you've got to be targeting carp, because carp are still feeding, but with a view that you're going to catch some quality silvers as well. So you talked about the other week, didn't you? Pellets, or like even little cubes of meat, that sort of thing. I think it's more about the location, the area that you fish, to the species you catch. If you're fishing in the deep water, you're going to catch some bigger silvers.
Listen, I'm putting it out there. For Darren, was it, off to Makins?
Darren, yeah.
Right. I'm putting it out there, Darren. I went there the other week. There was carp hook galore.
Lee, watch this. If this works, it'd be incredible. Watch, because I've got a little banner. So as you're talking, if this works, this would be incredible. Look, become a member.
That's unbelievable.
Online coaching videos. Hit the join button.
That's incredible. There you go. That's incredible. Yeah, I don't know how you do it, Rob. So basically, when I went to Makins the other week, I fished like ground bait, a little bit of chopped worm, some maggots, a loose fed maggots. I would definitely take some ground bait and maggots, because I think you've got a chance of catching skimmers.
Right, it's snake and reptile, which are they're the smaller lakes, but there's a bit more open water, and there is an island, but it's more.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Different, because obviously, remember, it's been redug, so probably since last time you went. But yeah, there's loads of carp in there. I think you got to be fishing for carp.
If you're on those lakes, you're targeting carp. But what I would say is take some maggots with you, because that could be a great way to target carp. That's what I would say. I think Rob's right. Pellets and meat and a carp target, but I would be 100% taking some maggots, something that I could throw out of my hand, nice and noisy. They crawl into the silt, think that that sort of thing. That's what I would be doing. I would take 2 pints of maggots with me and give myself a throwaway maggot line where you could have a rock up of carp as well. And if you're having a tough day, you'll put some bream in the net to go with it. I don't know how many bream are left in there now, Rob, but
yeah,
there was
usually those. I think this is where a lot of anglers slip up. They go with like plan A carp baits, and they don't take that plan B sort of bait that they can feed aggressively still. So this time of year, you'll be the same as me, Lee. Very rarely we'll go to a commercial fishery and we've not got a couple of pints at least, maybe 3 pints of maggots. And we'll have our carp bait, our corn, or our pellets that we're going to rattle in around our peg and sort of like set little traps, and we'll fish across to an island, tap some pellets in, catch a couple of carp. We know that what will happen though, that's not going to last forever. We'll probably catch a few further down our peg. Then we've got maybe margins late on, but all throughout the day, we'll be feeding some bait where we can comfortably reach by hand. So maggots is a brilliant bait for doing this, because we know that any point during that day, we can fill the gaps. We can drop on that line, and even if it goes under and we catch a few 8-ounce skimmers, or it might go under and you catch a 2-pound bream, it might go under and you go F1, carp, because that's the depth that the fish want to feed in. So it's just a way of keeping an area of your swim where you can be aggressive with some bait. You can't do it with 6 mil pellets or 8 mil pellets or 4, because you just can't, because the small fish aren't going to eat that and clear you out. But maggots are brilliant bait for doing that. So if you've got anywhere where you've got sort of 3 foot to 6 foot of water in front of you at 5 meters, there's a great video on the channel that you did, fishing that maggot line at Lindholm. It's literally that, because if you're fishing for silvers, it's the same. If you're fishing for it's the same. So it's a great way of being aggressive in an area of your swim. Dave Berry, nice. He's on about he finds it funny as well that about the silvers at this time of year, silverfish matches this time of year, and he's saying carp a pound, which is what you do in Feeder Masters, don't you?
Yeah, we do carp a pound at Feeder Masters, but again, like Rob, we don't start that until the first round is like basically we do November, December. Sorry, we do December and January as the core of the league. One at the end of November to kick it off, and I think one at the start of February to finish it. 6 rounds, and we don't really get many carp problems there. You know, they count a pound. If you hook 3 or 4 throughout the day, you take your time, you get them out. You've got another 3 or 4 pound in your net.
The silverfish weights are generally on the low side, aren't they? What you don't want is one guy catching £15 carp winning the match outright with a 15-pounder.
Exactly, and that, you know, I've fished some leagues on there where everything counted, and it's not very good during the winter because you catch 15-pounder silverfish, you get wiped out by 2 fish. So
it becomes a carp league, doesn't it? Then.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes a carp league. So, you know, yeah, I think on a lot of the right venues, any fish count. And the other thing is, Rob, I don't really want to be fishing for commercial silverfish for October, November, December, January, February, and the finals in March. I don't need to spend 5 months of my year fishing for those fish because I feel like I'm missing out on too much great fishing. So, you know,
it's hard, isn't it? It's hard for organisers to sort everything out.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love the competition, and that on the flyer silverfish competition is absolutely brilliant. Brilliant competition.
I've not fished any yet, so we'll see. Paul Williams, yeah, he agrees. The carp are still feeding. It's not quite cold enough, in his humble opinion. Silverfish matches are my favourite matches, but I agree. Natural bait selection is an option. Mr. Tomlinson, in your opinion, what's the best fishing item that has been released in 2023?
What a great question that is. Oh dear.
The best fishing item. So what do you think is the best fishing item? I'll tell you what, that's a great question for everyone at home, because they might have bought something that they think, wow, this is mega.
I'll tell you what, you're gonna laugh now.
Yeah, I'll laugh at this.
Right, you will laugh at this, right? So, Preston brought out a heated seat cushion.
Oh, right, let's carry on then. So
no, listen, it's funny. It's funny.
We're not listening to heated seat cushion.
No, listen to me, because it's funny, right? It's funny. I thought they said, "Oh, we're going to bring out a heated seat cushion," and I just looked at them and went, "What are you doing? Heated seat cushion?" They were like, "Yeah, we're going to bring one out because it's got a heated range."
Guru used it as an April Fool's joke 2 years ago.
Exactly, right? Exactly. It was an April Fool's type thing. It was like anyway, right? They asked for me to use one during the Christmas special, so they said, "Hey, have a go with it during the Christmas special." I ordered one the next day. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I've heard this sort of thing before from you, though.
Ordered it. I've ordered it. I can't wait to get it. And when I'm fishing in winter at Hallcroft next to you, and it's freezing, and I'm sat there looking at my tip, and I've got a lovely warm core from a heated seat cushion, I'll just ask you how your box is going. Oh, and it's an extra padded cushion. So for something a bit different, there you go. That could be a good one, couldn't it?
Right. Yeah, that's great. We've got when are you going to do an Edge members coaching day on the Trent? We would love to do one. So obviously just fitting it in. We won't be doing one this year, obviously, because rivers are a little bit hit and miss this time of year. But we get asked every year.
We'll book one in for next year.
We get asked every year. What time do you think is best, Lee? Because obviously we're quite busy September, but maybe even early season, could work next year.
Well, actually, Rob, the reason that we don't do it is because we go to the World Feeder Championships early July, but next year the World Feeder Championships is early May, so there is a gap in the calendar early July.
Maybe late June, so you can obviously get your gear ready for summer of river fishing. But obviously we know
that would be nice, yeah. 3 weeks, I'd say, to the season.
We've been asked for every year. We get asked, don't we, for one on the Trent? So it will be popular, I'm sure. Neil Potter, afternoon chaps. Fox has good afternoon, gentlemen. Paul, is it better to use Paul Williams? This is it better to use a short length of elastic when fishing for silvers instead of through the whole top kit? Now, I think this depends on what you're trying to do, don't you?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah.
Just hang on. Whoa. I'm going to show you my elastic. I've just done a top kit for silverfish, and this will give you a clue. So this is a hybrid elastic. It's actually size 7 Duraslip, right? Because it's this hybrid style elastic, which I think in the winter is great because it just doesn't it just doesn't freeze up like a hollow elastic does. So I've got it through my standard top 2 all the way through on a puller. And for skimmers, commercial fishing, light F1 work, I think that's the way to go. Now, if I was roaching on a natural venue, maybe, and you want to swing a big proportion of your fish, I would still put my elastic through a puller, but I would have less elastic and I would have half of it in my top kit with some real strong braid, still set the elastic nice and soft. But instead of here, I've got 1 meter 40, let's say, of elastic. I'd probably have a meter of elastic, maybe slightly lighter, and then I'd have the rest of it as braid going through and out of my puller. So if I do hook a fish and I want to strip a little bit out, I can. But when I'm striking into fish, I can strike it bottoms out slightly quicker and I can swing them in. I don't know about you, Lee. That's me, though.
Exactly the same, Rob. When I fish like the drains and the canals and things like that, all my elastic is original slip, and I have 1 meter of elastic, and then I have a strong braid to the bung. Because when you do that, you need it to not keep going. You need it to come out and then fish come in here, which is exactly how I fished yesterday with the single 3. And my single 5s are the same. However, that's on the drains or the little canals or whatever it might be. But Thursday at Meadowlands, I shall fish original slip elastics because I think they're fantastic for the winter. And I shall fish them for a full top kit because there's a chance for £3 bream. Skimmers generally keep deep, keep heavy. I want to ship my pole back. So I don't want to put undue pressure on them. I almost want to guide them. And I think those hybrids are brilliant for F1s. Not convinced if they're the ones for skimmers because I still want to lift up quick. So for me, original slip, I still want to lift up, the fish come to the top and net it. You might find through the full top kit with that, when you go like that, it's like, come on then, and it's hard to get them up. It's brilliant F1 fishing where you know you're going to puller every fish. So you can hook a fish, the F1 goes charging off, brilliant, chip back, 2 strips, and you can net it. But
I quite like using a heavier elastic, though, Lee, I do. So I'll probably go to like a 10 or something like that if I'm swinging fishing. I don't mind a boingy 10, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's for me. I'm an original slip guy.
Yeah, which is great. That black slip is like
black 8. Tomorrow Meadowlands I'll be using single 6 and single 8s. They'll be my 2 elastics.
Yeah. All right, lads. Well done with the fishing over the last month or so. You guys don't know how lucky you are having venues that fish well fishing well. As they saying goes, it's grim up north. That's Scott Preston. Scott is an amazing angler. You know, he's Welsh as well.
Why, so, Scott? Where are you going fishing that's no good? There's like everywhere's great. What's happening, great. Scott?
Fishing's mega, isn't it? So
mega.
Scott, I think if Wales ever feed a team, Scott's in it. Scott's a shoe-in. Andrew Saunders. Well. Any plans for a Winter Silvers coaching day? I don't know. Have we got any plans for a Winter Silvers coaching day?
Comment below if we held the Winter Silvers coaching day. Would you like to come on it? Because obviously, if the interest was there, we think about it.
Makings could be brilliant for that. There's loads of fishing makings.
Could it? Is there anywhere that isn't 10 minutes from your house where we could go and do that? Or
makings is 25. Bear in mind, I drove 2 hours to get to your house the other day.
That was nice of you.
It was.
What did we catch? That was good of you.
What did we catch?
Well, we didn't go fishing, did we? We just did something else.
What do each of you think will be the next big thing development, respectively, in commercial and/or FIPS rules fishing? I.e., after France, you talked about the need to focus on ground bait. You can mention your heated seat cushion again here, Lee, if you wanted to do that.
Obviously, that is groundbreaking. Look, with FIPS, ground bait, I felt ground bait. France was great because I felt ground bait was evolving and we weren't part of it. We weren't part of the evolution for ground bait on natural venues, on those sorts of fishing, because we just don't not use fish meal ground baits as a country anymore. Commercial wise, you never know what's coming next. I mean, look, these commercial silverfish matches have really, really captured people's imagination. I think it's still the tip of the iceberg. I think clubs will start doing it to keep interest. Why don't we have a commercial silver? Why don't we have a silver match this
While
week?
you're rabbiting, I'm going to put the banner back up.
Yeah, put it back up. Yeah. I think that could be. I think that could play a big part. And I think the development of festivals has changed how people are on commercials as well. So I'm not really sure which way things are going to go, but at the moment, people still love going fishing. I think the club scene is really strong, and I think the club scene will probably tends to embrace a lot of what happens on the open match scene. So, like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if we're seeing more and more club anglers keeping bites coming through the colder months with some silverfish matches, or maybe even embracing our natural baits rule, Rob. If I was a club, you could call it Natural Baits October.
Natural Baits
October. Everybody on their matches fish natural baits, and I think they would see an unbelievable surge in catches. How about that for her?
Yeah, I think you're right. Good for the local tackle shop as well, isn't it?
Great for the local tackle shop, and I still love Groundbait because I think Groundbait's important. But I mean, what happened at Barston? Tell me when you've had a better week's fishing than that.
Amazing. I think concerning the next big thing, I think we've got to be looking at feeder development. I think the development of feeders that have come on over the last few years with windows, caged windows, different styles of rocket feeders. We're not just chucking out a side-loaded feeder anymore, and I think that's where the next big thing will come in. I think there'll be few. I say not next big thing. It'll be a small thing, but it'll be one of those things where you go, I've got to have that on the bank. I've got to be fishing with that. I think feeders will be the next thing. I know I love messing around making feeders and messing around with that sort of thing. So hopefully it'll be that sort of thing. What do you guys? This is from Neil Pilgrim. What do you guys think about a non-fish meal pellet with silvers in mind? And is it possible? Well, Neil, not all pellets have got that much fish meal in. Some of them have only got a tiny, tiny percentage in. So yeah, definitely possible. There's different types of meals in pellets. There's blood meal, fish meal. Different sorts of ingredients go in. So yeah, totally possible. Whether it's commercially viable is another matter, because we talk about the popularity of silverfish matches. We know that on commercials, just a standard fish meal pellet or a pellet with a small amount of fish meal in is brilliant. I'm not too sure what you'd gain with having a pellet that's not got any fish meal in it.
I have to agree. I don't see the. I mean, they already do hemp pellets, for example, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't. I think like expanders are so weak fish meal, it's ridiculous. There's practically just basically wheat based. So yeah, I'm not seeing that as a. I think pellet development will change over time, like it has. A Coppins wasn't even a thing 4 or 5 years ago, was it? Let's be honest, And nowadays, that's what we use for our hard pellet fishing. So
yeah, it is.
No doubt and the Coppins are low fish meal pellets. So, maybe a softer feed pellet might be a thing, Rob. Like something that I know companies have tried it, but I'm not convinced by the ingredients. Maybe if it was a pellet-based ingredient, but it was in a softer form, it might be more palatable to fish. But I mean, to be honest, we soak them up anyway. So yeah, we're probably just splitting hairs, I would say.
Yeah, I think pellet fishing is so easy, isn't it? To just get a bag of pellets that are dry, not going to spoil, open a bag.
I'm going to say it's convenient. I'm not going to say it's easy.
No, it's convenient. I'm saying, yeah, convenient is the right word. Yeah. With the Stainforth and Keedby. Oh, sorry, I've missed out. Darren was talking about Snake Rep. Ken Hutchins, the gaffer. Great idea, lads. Afternoon live chat. Hello, Ken. With the Stainforth and Keedby Canal being such a brilliant venue, do you think there should be more FIPS types matches on the venue? Is this the time of year to have? So you get, because obviously you've got a core. We're talking about silverfish matches. You've got a core of anglers that are going on commercial fisheries to get their silverfish fix. Is this the time of year that those silverfish matches? I know it's convenient to go on a commercial, and I know there's a calf there and all that sort of thing, shorter walks. Is this the time of year where we should be descending on somewhere like the Stainforth and Keep instead of going to a commercial to catch the silvers?
Yeah, look, I loved my day yesterday. Have you ever been on one of them tough mudders?
Right. Is it like that?
Because yesterday we joked before the start, don't want to be 198 because it's right in the middle of the length. So it doesn't matter what way you come in, it's horrific. And I drew 197. And it was horrific. It was horrific. It was a real struggle to get there. The path is terrible. It's very, very disappointing that something isn't done.
It's access, isn't it? It's access.
Yeah, something isn't done about the path. And we were talking about the fact that at Hallcroft, you're going to go to Hallcroft teams of 4, right? That's why there's 80 people on it, Rob. You park up behind your peg.
Yeah.
You sit on a lovely platform after you've drawn in the calf in the morning. You don't worry about your car. And you get a bite of chuck from decent quality fish. Now, I love the Staney, and I used to go 20 matches a year, every year. I thought it was brilliant. And there was a real buzz about the scene, and there still is when you go in the calf afterwards. It's a real challenge. And it is a challenge, but the incentive is just not there for people to battle through the mud to go and do it. I mean, I really enjoyed my day. But I tell you now, it was a tiring, long day, and the difference with a commercial, the right commercial, where the access is good, is going to be great. I mean, there's a little bit of walking at Meadowlands, but generally speaking, the access is great. Sit on a nice pallet, you're going to catch a great weight of fish. There just isn't I just don't think if the Staney had parked behind your peg access, we'd all be there.
Yeah, you would. So, I always use Evesham as a prime example. We know during the summer months, Evesham, it's not the best fishing in the world. It's not the best river fishing. It's okay. But because you can drive behind your peg, then you've got a peg and the cafe's there and it's the access, they sell out them weekend matches. And
every time, yeah.
It's literally because of the convenience of it. So anyone that's got something about it, if they was to create that sort of like arena, that setting, yeah, they're going to do great. They've got to commercialise a natural venue, I think, for it to be successful.
I think unfortunately that is the case. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, and I love the leagues that were there, but numbers dwindled, and I think that was one of the biggest reasons why. Don't think people wanted to battle through the mud in the middle of January. Just wasn't appealing to a lot of people, you see. No, unfortunately.
Chris Hay, hi both. Well done on your recent successes. Absolutely top quality. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Cheers, boys. When we saw in edge coaching for next year, love my day down with you at the Glebe. So obviously, you want some coaching dates organised. We look at days. We sort of organise the dates. Start December time, don't we? Looking at dates for next year, and then we release.
100%. So yeah, 100%. The next month, within the next month, we will probably have the dates finalised, so you can get your missus to get it for you for Christmas, or your kids, or just treat yourself. We'll have some days, and we'll do the same sort of mix. And I know that days are mega popular. And thanks for everybody who attended this year. They were brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah. Right, Graham Babiek. Hi Rob, Lee. I see you were on the pellet feeder at Tamar this year with great success. Do you think this will work in Ireland? And if so, what groundbait would you be using, and what would be the maximum depth? To start with, Graham, we're going to plug the website and obviously the YouTube members section, because we've just literally been out and filmed last week the full breakdown of Tamar and how it worked and how the practice session unfolded and how the matches unfolded for Lee and myself, talking through all the kit, all the timings, pellet feeders, window feeders, cage feeders, when to use them all. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, and obviously you're following Feeder Masters, that I think it's being released in a couple of weeks' time, will be a really good video for you to get a feeling for. I'm not too sure, Graham, that I think a pellet feeder will work in Ireland, but you're going to have to think about what you put in it, because a pellet feeder isn't just for putting pellets in it. I'm not too sure pellets are going to be... If pellets are working on a venue, it's put pellets in it. But I think you might be putting ground bait, maybe some casters, and just your normal feeder mix in your pellet feeder. Maybe double maggot, single maggot, or a worm head. Fold it in your pellet feeder, and I'd be chucking that out. You know, when you get invites and you think, there's fish around my feeder, you know, but I can't get them to take my back hook bait, which is 50 centimeters away. Try chucking out a little pellet feeder. What pellet feeders would you be using, Lee, for that?
Well, that's what I was thinking about, Rob. I was thinking it's a struggle because the problem with a pellet feeder is generally they're not big enough to hold enough bait. And then when they are, they don't cast as nicely as like a window. Got
this old schooler up next to me on my desk.
Yeah, I mean, something like that's great. But I've got to be honest and say, I just, unless your venue's coloured and there's lots of fish attacking your feeder, and then I would just use a large Preston pellet feeder, and I would wedge some casters in it with my ground bait. But I've got to be honest, I would rather fish a short hook length with a window feeder if I was trying to achieve that style of fishing on my venue. Rob, my battery is looking low on my phone and I'm desperate for the toilet. So those two things combined, I just wanted to warn you of, just in case you've got a black screen at any moment, or just me
go and get a charger
running out. I will. Is that? Are you capable of holding court while I get a charger?
I can hold court. Don't you worry about that. We can slag you off brilliantly while you go away and get a charger.
You don't need me to be away to do that, do you? So let me go and get my charger so we don't get a cut off.
Go and get your charger then. Right. So Martin Ellis, he watched the window feeder video over the weekend. Can't wait to get out and put some of the tips into practice with my new Ascension feeder rod and Centris. You obviously have hung on everything that Lee said because that is the kit that Lee's used on the Feeder Masters final. Jan van Luten, could you do something on the use of leam and soils in feeder fishing in combination with natural baits such as joker and worms? Great content, Bill, by the way. Keep up the good work. Yes, Jan, we've got plans to do that in maybe November, December, and if we get chance, we will do maybe something underwater as well, because it'd be interesting to see how the leams break down and how the fish come round, sort of peck at the bait. If the staining clears up again, we'll go back and do something, because worm and joker fishing is still relevant, obviously, in the UK, and obviously a load of European anglers. We've got a load of European subscribers. Load of European anglers love worm and joker fishing. So we'll do something like that if we get chance. We're on the search at the minute for a clear venue to do something underwater, similar to what you're talking about. In the meantime, though, underwater-wise, we've got something on a canal. We talked about pellet fishing on natural venues. We've got some amazing shots, the best shots that we've ever got from our underwater camera on our underwater team. Literally, it was like looking through a pane of glass to the outside world. It was so clear. You could see everything. That will be maybe our Christmas special this year. It was incredible viewing. So if you want to see sort of £3-4 pound bream and tench, taking pellets and corn and coming into the swim and a swim full of fish, that'll be well worth a watch. Andrew Saunders, I have some short kits with white hydro. Could they be used for heavy silvers too? Maybe in deep water, Andrew, but I think white hydro through a short kit, it's going to be a little bit too fierce.
That's when I'd look for them hybrid elastics, Rob. If I had
for a short kit, I think them hybrid elastics are going to be the way to go. I think get yourself some hybrid elastics, something rated around 7, 8, something like that, and just do 2 kits with that hybrid elastic in. I tell you where it's really good. Obviously, you've got short kits, so you fish commercials, probably Snake Lakes. That is great for that short maggot line, just that throwaway line where you might do it in the margins, you might do it at 5 meters, and just during the day, you might have a middle hour where you go, I tell you what, I'm just going to drop on that short maggot line, and whatever I catch, I'm going to put him on there. It might be some 2-ounce roach, it might be some little hand-sized skimmers, it might be an odd F1 that you catch there. But we know, middle of the match, you could probably get 1, 2, 3 hours where it's just, you look around and you think, God, this is dead. No one's catching anything. And with that light elastic, light rigs falling through the water, loose fed maggots out of your hand, you can just put fish in your net. So it's worth doing just a couple of kits with some lighter sort of hybrid style elastics. Make use of that area of your swim. Here we go. Winter Silvers Day coaching. Neil Potter wants one. As long as Lee throws in a heated seat cushion, he's on it.
Go on, lads.
He's on it.
I'll have that set up. Don't you worry. I can't wait for it to arrive. I'm excited.
Yeah. Stephen Armstrong. Afternoon, gents. Hope you're both okay. Stephen Armstrong. He is one of our biggest supporters, isn't it?
Great guy.
Andrew Sword. How do you think old school ground baits, crumb-based ground baits, it means, would fare against the new fish meal style ground baits in today's angling?
Well, they're still about, so I can tell you the answer to that. In certain situations, one or the other is fantastic. When we go abroad to Europe, we can't get fish meals to work at all for whatever reason. But in this country, obviously, as we know, very, very few waters where fish meals don't play a part. Apart from where I went yesterday on the Staney, where I was using those natural crush style ground baits, ground baits that are bread based, because the fish that I'm targeting are those type of fish. I know there was big bream in there, but they're not really pellety type fish. So, those who have tried it, keep trying it. Somebody even tried it yesterday and caught nothing, said the same thing. So there is still a place for natural ground baits, but I would say on very water, I always think any lake, I don't know of a single lake in England that isn't a fish meal ground bait. But rivers and canals,
maybe one that doesn't, because all lakes now have seen some sort of angling pressure, haven't they? I wonder if it's
anywhere where angling's allowed,
Lake District or somewhere like that, or like a Loch Ken, maybe. Is that a more of a natural baits sort of area?
Maybe it is, but I don't think so. I think they're using for the skimmers up Loch Ken. I think I'm right in saying they still use fish meal ground baits. So, very interesting, really, isn't it? All these places that used to be. Take Rudyard, looks beautiful, looks very raw and natural, doesn't it? But fish meal, best ground bait.
Yeah, it is. It is. Graham's saying good news because he's obviously looking forward to the Tamar video because he's a member of the website. Mr. Tomlinson, Mark Thompson, Lee, you must have a heated toilet seat. I think he's trying to say that you're a little bit, I don't know, privileged.
Not got a heated toilet seat, Michael. No, unfortunately not. Obviously, you saw it took me so long to go through the 20 bedrooms just to get my charger.
Well, you could have got your butler to bring it down, couldn't you?
Oh God, Jeeves, I forgot about him. Yeah, I'll see what he's doing later.
Dave Warren says I should just wee myself instead of getting a heated seat because Dave ran the bank for me in the Euro Cup recently. Brilliant job that he did as well. And I took my bib and brace off at the end of the day, and literally because it rained all day, and obviously you've got fish in your lap as you're unhooking them. It rained all day, and I took my bib and brace off, and it just looked like I'd sat there all day and just weed myself.
Yeah, I think it was the pressure got to you, Rob. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, it might, but that's obviously an England thing, isn't it? I'm not stopping for anything in an England.
But if you'd have had a heated seat cushion, it would have dried it up. So you wouldn't have had that embarrassment, would you?
Yeah. Peter Lawson. Now here's an interesting one. The Euro Feeder Cup was organised to get you more FIPS fishing. Do you think the qualifying for the World Club Feeder World Champs is done in the best way? Would more matches be better, or does the calendar prohibit this? Now, to put Peter's question in context, to qualify for the World Club Feeder Champs, you have to win the Feeder National, which is held and it's run by the Angling Trust once a year on one of their specified venues. It's a one-off match. It's ran to FIPS rules as close as they can sort of manage it, sort of steward it. So worm and jokers allowed. They want you to use 50 centimetre hook lengths, running rigs.
Worm and joker was not allowed, Rob.
Oh no, worm and joker wasn't allowed this year. They want you to use running rigs, 50 centimetre hook lengths, that sort of traditional style feeder fishing. So no method feeders, pellets, anything like that. It's hard to steward that sort of thing with the manpower that they've got, and the venues that we use as well, because they're not as open as a FIPS style event with as many people walking the bank. There is room for people to maybe get away with a few things. That's how we do things in this country. Now, I'll tell you how a lot of other countries do things in their countries. They have a 2-day event. They have as close to world champs style fishing as possible and a 2-day event. Then other countries have a league of events. So they know that after that league of events, maybe 4, 5, 6 matches, they then have a team that is up to speed with European style fishing, and they can go away and they can compete on the world level. What you sometimes run the risk of, and I don't think it's happened yet with us, but it might happen in the future. What you sometimes run the risk of by having a one-off match is maybe a team just getting fortunate, going qualifying, and then they go away and they're not quite up to speed with world style fishing. And I think as England, we want the best team representing us when we're representing England when they go away and fish against all these other countries. We want the best team. So I think we want a bit more of a stringent criteria for picking that best team, because long term we want obviously success, and also there's a ranking system. So as we progress throughout the years, if we do poorly in the World Club Feeder Champs as a team, we have less teams will be allowed to qualify. At the minute, we're allowed 2 teams, I think, isn't it, Lee, to qualify. But that only depends on venue. So if the venue can accommodate 2 teams from each country, then they'll let 2 teams go. But if the venue can only accommodate 1 team from each country and maybe a couple of extra teams, well, the teams that do particularly well in the World Club Champs will then get the option of sending another team. It's a little bit confusing, but basically the better we do in the World Club Feeder Champs, the more teams will be allowed to go from England, which means better chance of success for English anglers.
One of the issues that we have in this country regarding it is that we don't fish matches to FIPS rules very often. In Europe, most countries only fish to FIPS rules, be that float, feeder, method feeder. They don't have, they go, oh, that's the rules, and they fish natural venues. Our fishing is much more evolved here in the UK, and we have obviously rules that have developed from fisheries and types of fishing and commercial fishing, and we're very powerful and we make our own rules. And what that's led to is, you know, well, we'll have a feeder national to decide. Well, we have loads of feeder matches throughout the years, and if they were all to FIPS rules, you'd be able to do something more specific. Take the Super League, Rob. We've got our own national feeder league. It's called the Feeder Masters Super League, and the Feeder Masters Super League is 4 matches across a variety of venues, fished to Feeder Masters feeder rules. So method feeders allowed. There's no limits on bait. That sort of thing just doesn't happen elsewhere because there was only one set of rules. However, I'm saying if we'd have had that set of rules, would we be as popular? Would that competition be as popular as it is? I don't know, because people have a vision of how they want fishing to be. So it's a real tough one for the national bodies. I agree with Rob. If it was me and you're asking what I would like, I'd love a 10-match league across 5 different venues, each one a double header at a weekend. It'd be fantastic. I would, if my whole year would be focused around that event, but that doesn't exist, and I appreciate the reasons why. So, you know, that's where we're at, unfortunately.
Right. We'll just rattle through last couple of questions. Richard Webb, would you ever consider having an Edge members only match, allowing all your members to meet us guys, have a non-serious match and a bit of a laugh? Yeah, we would, Richard, actually, but it's fitting it in. We've often talked about it. It's fitting it in and then working out where we could do that. So it would probably be, I mean, Boston would be amazing for it, wouldn't it? Central, good mix of fishing styles. Boston would be amazing for it. So it's on the radar, Richard. We have thought about it, and we won't stop thinking about it either. We will consider that. Andrew Saunders says the butler's probably busy polishing all the silverware, Lee. So he's not got a chance to bring your charging cable down. Graham Bowick, he lets his missus go to the toilet first because that's the best seat heater. We don't really want to know about that, Graham. Do you ever think we will see fishing again at Home Pier Point? This is Andrew, and this is going to be our last question, Lee.
No.
Oh.
No. Without saying too much, let me tell you now, it's been thoroughly investigated. And I don't think it will be possible. That's my opinion. Not through politics, not through anything other than a lack of fish in the venue. It's an expensive venue because it's used for primarily other means. It's such a huge venue. The stocking required to make it good enough to fish is huge. They have massive cormorant issues on there, which would need to be controlled. And there just isn't the facilities to do it. You know, there isn't a fishery manager there. And unfortunately, that's what these places need if you were to do it. So I would love to see something there. I can't ever see it unless for some reason, and it won't happen, rowing and boating was to cease there and it became, you know, an unused piece of water. And that isn't going to happen because it's a wonderful, wonderful facility for all those people that use it. It really is wonderful. A travesty, without doubt, but I feel like that is the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, shame. Right, I've got someone knocking at the door, so that is what we're going to end it there. Don't forget, folks, to join. I reckon it'd be down there. It's hard because obviously we're backwards. To join our YouTube members section, you just click that button. Obviously, if you're on the website anyway, you get full access to the videos, and then obviously you can join the YouTube section, which is the same videos but just on YouTube. Click that join button down there. Takes you through. Literally, with the price of, I was talking about the other day, with the price of beer at the minute, when you go to a nice swanky bar, it's the same price as like a pint at some of the posh places that we go to.
Saying it's the cheapest. It's the cheapest info you can ever get, Rob.
Yeah, it is.
£6.49 a month. Yeah. What a bargain.
It's helped our fishing massively. So thank you very much. We'll make this a regular thing where we'll see you live again, maybe next week.